the secret of government. And she forgot about the oath. I apologize for that.
ANC Chief Whip Mdumiseni Ntuli led the call for her recusal.
So we would like the DA and the member concerned, starting with the member, to consider withdrawing her membership from the committee to protect all of us.
The DA's Ian Cameron says Kola Barnard, who is not present today, has not been recused yet, and they are awaiting a legal opinion. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News.
Former President Clement Manyathela says despite some issues with the implementation of broad-based black economic empowerment, the policy should be expanded rather than scrapped. Manyathela was speaking at the Frank Dialogue event in Sandton yesterday, which looked at the history and future of BBEE. He said that the policy needs to evolve and close loopholes that allow for abuse.
The challenge before us is difficult, yes, but it is necessary. We dare not postpone it, we dare not weaken it with cynical attacks or reduce it to narrow patronage. We must reimagine and implement BBEE with decisiveness, empathy and vision.
Meanwhile, the Solidarity Research Institute says BBEE has been an impediment to investment in the country and has not resulted in the collective advancement of black people. Head researcher Connie Mulder.
First, Solidarity is not of the opinion that we should just abandon ship and do nothing. The answer is we need to start doing something else. What we're doing at the moment is not working. It's not achieving the outcomes that it should. We've heard the usual suspects are getting much richer, and we've seen that happen. Is you have a small elite that has benefited significantly, but the rest of the country has not.
Candidates hoping to be appointed to the country's superior courts will continue to field tough questions from the Judicial Service Commission this morning as interviews enter their second day. The interviews have been scheduled for the next 2 weeks. For the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court and the Labour Court and the High Courts. Yesterday, 5 candidates appeared before commissioners with the hope of being appointed to the Apex Court. Khumuzo Modise reports.
Yesterday, the Judicial Service Commission saw candidates including Supreme Court Judge Nambita Dambuza Mayawasi, who has a legal career spanning over 23 years, which includes 12 months acting at the Constitutional Court, and Advocate Ellen Dotson, a senior counsel who's also had an acting stint at the Apex Court. However, the interview of one of the candidates, Dr. Madumeja Malepe, a retired academic, was marred by controversy as allegations surfaced regarding the theft of church funds and the fact that she's currently under debt review.
You are either going to be lifted from debt review or you are going to be declared to be insolvent. If you are insolvent, you will not qualify to hold the position of a judge.
Yes, that situation has not yet arrived. I'm not insolvent.
This morning, another Supreme Court judge, Ashton Skippers, who handed down judgment on the old apartheid flag constituting hate speech, will take the hot seat with the hope of appointment to the highest court in the land. Khumuzo Modise, Eyewitness News in Sandton.
And Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says he was asked by US President Donald Trump to persuade Hamas to accept a peace deal in the Gaza war. Erdogan revealed this in a transcript that has been shared to the public by his office. He says he explained to Trump during his latest visit to the US how a solution could be achieved in Palestine. Turkey, along with Qatar, are the latest countries to join Hamas and Israeli negotiators in Egypt today for a third day of talks aimed at ending the Gaza war. Indirect negotiations are being held at the Red Sea resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt based on a 20-point plan recently proposed by US President Donald Trump. Gold is trading at $4,013.29 an ounce. The rand is at 17.24 to the dollar, 23.09 to the pound, 20.04 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.99 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy traffic volumes on the N3 North. This is between Modderfontein Road and the Baklu interchange. That's due to roadworks along this route, and more roadworks are taking place on the Mark 1 South. This is between the Empire Road exit and Smith Street.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the ad hoc committee investigating alleged police corruption has resumed in Parliament today, where discussions shifted to calls for DA committee member Diane Kola Barnard's recusal.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
No, 9 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. And what a fascinating conversation with Mandy Winner in the previous hour about her new book, The Deal, Inside the Talks That Shaped South Africa's Future. Listen, there's a lot more that Mandy writes about here. She even takes us through what was happening during the time when we were talking about the VAT hike or not, the red lines that the DA was talking about, disagreements over cabinet appointments, when John Steenhuisen went to the president's house in Pretoria with a beautiful bottle of wine, and they walked in the garden, they were having a conversation because they were all trying to come with a deal. And the deal, they did come up with one, but has it been fragile? Has it been strong? It's been quite tricky, but the deal is out. You can go check it out in all your bookstores. Time now for our Thursday Dialogue.
Burning questions,
Insightful answers
listener's choice.
with Clement Manyathela.
What's going on, Abel? It's time for our Listener's Choice feature. Not Thursday Dialogue. Thursday Dialogue is tomorrow. So we were broadcasting upstairs, so I ran down. So I'm still catching my breath. The previous hour wasn't in the studio. We were broadcasting from the entertainment area here at Prime Media House because we had the live audience. So lovely every time we've got visitors and we're broadcasting in front of them, because when they ask questions and, you can see who they are. And you're not hiding behind your phone. And I'm not hiding behind the studio. So it's time now for our Listener's Choice feature. And today on Listener's Choice, I want us to discuss the tender and bid adjudication process and how it works, because there's a lot of rot in the system. It's been captured for a while now. From roads, schools, clinics, to procurements of goods and services, the way tenders are awarded has been questionable. Government spends hundreds of billions of rands every single year on public projects and services, construction of schools, construction of hospitals. They're supplying medical equipment, IT systems, stationery, you name it. These contracts are awarded through what's meant to be an open and fair tender system. And yes, on paper, it's all about transparency, it's about competition, it's about value for money. They're designed to make sure that public funds are spent wisely and that the qualifying businesses, whether you're big or you're small, you actually benefit. But in reality, you know the stories that we've heard about the tender system and how people have benefited unduly. Countless stories about irregular expenditure, inflated contracts. They're politically connected individuals that are always landing these massive deals. So what is it about this system? Where is it working? Where is it not working? We've invited Werner van Rooyen, who is the director and facilitator at How to Tender, to really come and explain to us the system. Because to really understand this system and how it works, we need to go beyond these stories we hear and look at the mechanics. How are these tenders advertised? What happens after bids are submitted? And crucially, what takes place during the bid adjudication stage? The moment when this committee decides this is the company we want to go with. And who sits in those committees? Werner, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Clement. Yes, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, we have been complaining for the longest of time about how this tender system has led to just monies being looted from our government. For listeners who might not be familiar, what exactly is a government tender, and why does South Africa use this system so much for public procurement?
Okay, Clement. Yeah, no, that's a good question. So first of all, a tender is where the government, which is presented by organs of state, they request the public to provide them with goods or services at a certain price. Okay, so with the emphasis on the public there. And the reason why tenders are used, not just in South Africa, but all around the world, is for the government or then the procuring entity to get the best product at the best price. So that is the main reasons why we use the tender process.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't government have the capacity internally? I mean, because sometimes they want to buy stationery and you must still get a tender for something like that. Isn't there internal capacity to procure these goods and services?
Yes, there is internal capacity, but one of the reasons that the government decided they're going to go the tender route is to increase entrepreneurship. They wanted people to start opening up their own businesses. Unfortunately, not everybody is built to own their own business. So there is pros and cons to it, but yes, I mean, there are many of these services and goods that they procure through tenders, which they can actually do themselves if they then employ people to do it. So it's give and take, one or the other.
So who is allowed to apply for these tenders, and what are some of the key requirements or documents that a company needs to be submitted before a bid? Because I pick up sometimes that you will have one main company that then has a subsidiary of companies. And when you take the COVID-19, for instance, PPE, there are so many companies that have never, ever provided any services in the medical sphere. But come COVID, government needs PPE. And then suddenly companies prop up and they get tenders to provide PPE. So what are actually the requirements here?
Yeah. So first of all, anybody can apply to a government tender. So government tenders, as a general rule, are open to the public. So, and that's why it is advertised publicly and anybody can respond. There's no law prohibiting me and you, who has got nothing to do with construction. Hopefully you, Clement, I don't know, but I don't have anything to do with construction. But there's nothing prohibiting us from responding to a construction tender. Hopefully, we will be eliminated because of the procedures and because of all the requirements. But no, anybody can respond, and that is what is happening. So, and paper is a patient thing. I mean, I can write you the best tender proposal on a piece of paper that you can imagine. And so if you can fool somebody, you can fool somebody. So the fact is that if you respond to a tender, you must be a legal business, and that they test by your tax compliance.
So you don't need to have experience in that field. So to use your analogy, Werner, if there's a construction tender out there, 200 million rand on the table or whatever, 50 million rand, can you and I just apply as whether the main contract or subsidiary company, even though we have never played in that sphere before?
Yes, but luckily, Clement, there are requirements built into the tender process, which then will hopefully, like I said, eliminate us from going any further. So nothing is stopping us to submit a tender, but there are going to be requirements about which we will be unable to meet, and based on that, we should be then eliminated from the evaluation process. But I mean, if there are so many loopholes, and I don't really want to get into that. But just to answer the final piece of your question about the documents that you need to require to submit is, the there are three important documents. First, your tax compliance, because you have to be tax compliant. Then, if you want to do business with government, to be registered on the supplier database, or CSD as it is commonly referred to. And then obviously broad-based black economic empowerment, BEE, you have to have either a certification or then a sworn affidavit. Those are the common three documents required. But then obviously, depending on the tender, there are going to be other documents as well. Now, many people think if they've got those three documents plus a company registration, they are ready to tender. But that's not true.
Yeah. Okay. 011-883-0702. What questions do you have about the tender system? What questions do you have about the bid adjudication process? Or maybe it's the concerns that you have and not necessarily questions. What have you observed? Maybe you've sat on these bid adjudication committee meetings, or maybe you've worked in procurement in government. What have you experienced? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Verna, I want us to get to the bid specification committee or bid adjudication committee. What is that committee all about, and how are those people even appointed?
Okay. The thing is, you must be specific because there are three basic committees. The first of which is the bid specification committee, right? So those people are usually made up of, or that committee rather, will be made up of key players in that organ of state. So let's say they want to procure computers, all right. So then one of the people that will be part of the bid specification committee, the first committee, will be obviously the people from procurement. Then there will be people from finance to make sure that there is money available, and then obviously the people from IT who needs the computers. And the people from the IT will then make sure that the specifications are submitted correctly in the tender document, and then the procurement people or office is supposed to make sure that it complies with all the procurement policies and regulations, and then the finance people will make sure that there is money. So that is the bid specification committee. And it's usually a mix between senior and junior people. And then when you get to the evaluation committee, now the evaluation committee is most of the time the same people as that was of the bid specification committee. All right. So they then evaluate it in also a mix between senior and junior people, but not your top senior people. And then they will evaluate the tender according to all the laws and rules and regulations. And then after the bid evaluation committee has evaluated the tenders, then the tenders that made it through the three stages of evaluation that gets to the final say, those tenders will then be put forward to the awarding committee. Now, the awarding committee, those are the top people in the organization. So that will be the financial manager, the CEO, chief executive officer, and the head of procurement, those guys. And they will then meet. Now, if you look at the municipality, it will be people in the town council. There will be a committee formed with councillors and those type of things. And they will meet on an ad hoc basis, and then they will go through the findings of the evaluation committee, and if they are happy with the evaluation committee's findings and recommendations, then they award the tender to the bidder with the highest score on the preference point system, and they literally vote by raising their hands on it, and there must be a quorum, 50 plus 1, 50% plus 1 extra vote. And that is how they should award them. So different people for the last section of evaluation.
Okay, I see. And are there any standard rules or frameworks, like let's take the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act, for instance, that guide these committees when evaluating the bids?
Yes. Look, the first framework obviously is the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act, or otherwise referred to as a triple PFA that you mentioned there. The Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act, that act provides guidance only on which preference points system they must be used. Clement, I don't know if you have seen in tenders they talk about 80-20 and 90-10 systems, whereby the 80 points you score for your price and 20 points you score on specific goals. Now the triple PFA guide or provide guidance on that, so that the triple PFA states that all tenders in South Africa must be awarded on either the 90-10 or the 80-20 preference point system. Then it goes further in Section 2 where it says that they must also then apply specific goals where they must try to advance people who have been disadvantaged previously, and they must also try to buy local. Okay, I'm just dumbing it down here a bit, but those are the three things that the triple PFA provides the procuring entities with. The rest are made up by the Public Finance Management Act, the Municipal Finance Management Act, and then all the regulations around those, and then also the organs of state, their own supply chain management policies and procedures, which needs to be guided again according to the Constitution, where they say that all tenders must be fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost-effective. So those are the things that guide them. But now, Clement, you can hear, there's a lot of things that they need to look at, a lot of laws, and that is where the problem starts. Nothing is in one place.
Yeah, I've got some questions coming from our listeners. So let's go to some calls and some WhatsApps as well. Let's start with Zweli, who's calling us from Johannesburg. Zweli, good morning.
Good morning, 702 listeners. My name is Zweli. I just have a question here. So I'm in a situation whereby I'm a bid officer, of course. So there's a tender here that has been advertised. The tender previously it was awarded for that specific successful bidder. So now the tender has been re-advertised, just like I said now. But now my question is, the same successful bidder, is he or she allowed to bid again? Because remember, if he bids again, they have an advantage because of they know the pricing, they know what documentation is required, although it's been stated on the tender document. But then isn't like that is unfair because now you are competing with people that you already know what exactly is being required by those evaluating committee members.
Yeah. Why are they re-advertising it, Zweli? Because you're saying the person had already won.
It's basically it's actually meaning that the tender it was awarded and then the contract was finished. So now they're advertising again, so that they need those services again. So now my question is, why the bidder that was successful previous awarded should bid again? Because it should not be allowed at all. And I would encourage all the bidders out there to report any corruption activities that they can see on the ground that are happening, because that's not allowed. It's also referred as a tender rotation winning bidders. You understand? That you're not giving a fair competition to the market. Thank you.
Which of the committees do you sit in, Zweli? The bid evaluation, the bid adjudication committee?
No. I think you've made a mistake there, Clement. Yeah? I said I'm a bidder. I'm not a.
Oh, you're a bidder. Oh, got it. Got you. Okay, thank you so much, Zweli, in Johannesburg. Werner.
All right. So his first concern with regards to successful bidders bidding again. And he says that's unfair because then they know the tender has been awarded to them. He used the wrong phrase by saying it has been re-advertised. It's not re-advertised, it is just advertised again. Because the previous contract came to an end. And we are living in an open market society where anybody can respond to any tender again. They request the public. Now, for tenders. Now, the problem with tenders, or one of the disadvantages of the whole tender environment is that you cannot build relationships if you apply the tender procedures 100% correctly. Because, as you know, you want to build a relationship with one of your clients, one of your suppliers, and you invest money to actually use that supplier's products or infrastructure. And now, 3 years later or 3 years down the line, the contract has come to an end. Now you must do the tender over again. Now you start afresh. Now you have to reinvest money in getting a new supplier, and that relationship that you built up over the last 3 years is gone now.
Yeah.
So in a sense, that is actually a disadvantage, and I know that many organs of state officials, they moan and they say that this is a problem to them. So the fairness comes in, I think, for the caller that they must just unfortunately have to try harder.
Yeah.
So, and then coming to the fraudulent and corruption reporting, there are fraud lines, and then that they can call, but there's also a website, the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer, which one can contact and then report these type of things. And we need to do that. That's the only way it's going to come out.
Yeah, just quickly, the last one before the headlines.
Hi, Clement. This is Bazooka from Pretoria. We are professional service providers. The other loophole we're seeing with procurement process is that other bidders will bid at a low price as possible, and in the middle of the contract invoke what we call modification to increase the price. And this is disadvantages those who had bidded higher than them, perhaps with more accurate specifications.
Yeah, Werner, surely that shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, so that unfortunately, Clement, is a education problem. The officials that evaluate the tenders, they need to be educated in the sense that they must know what is a fair price for something. And, the saying goes, if it is too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So they must have a look and a holistic overview on all the tenders received, all the pricing. And then they must realize that if the bulk of the tenders are on the higher end of the scale and this one bidder comes in with a ridiculous price, then there must be something wrong. And that bidder is not supposed to go through the stages of evaluation to get to the final stage where they're going to score the most points for price because the pricing is too low.
Yeah.
I can say that type of awards are getting less and less and less because officials are getting educated and they see through this these days. Because and one thing that he didn't mention there is they call it variation orders. So they start executing the job and halfway through they say, oh no, I can't do it anymore. I forgot to add this to the tender or that to the tender. And that's a main concern. It was in the past, it was a big issue, but it does seems to fade out at this moment.
I'm glad to hear that. Werner van Rooyen, Director and Facilitator at How to Tender. Thank you so much for making time for us. Let's get the latest now with this news headlines. Mbali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. KZN top cop Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says the access that alleged underworld crime boss Brown Mokhotsi has to police information is infiltration at its highest. Mkhwanazi says this violates the protection of all South African citizens. He has been giving evidence to Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is investigating allegations of police corruption. The Modimolle Regional Court in Limpopo has not been able to find a new Oshivambo interpreter in the Phalaphala burglary case. Oshivambo is an official Namibian language and is the home language of the three accused in the matter. Emanuela David, along with siblings Froliana and Dilinasho Joseph, are accused of stealing $580,000 in cash from President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm in 2020. And Basic Education Minister Sivuwe Gwagube has confirmed confirmed that as from this morning, education and general school assistants have been paid. In a joint press briefing with the Employment and Labour Department in Pretoria, she addressed some of the resolutions taken to deal with the payment issue. Thousands of assistants across the country have been waiting for their September stipends, which were delayed due to admin and verification issues. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling on the N3 North, we've got roadworks taking place between the Marlborough Drive exit and the Baklu interchange. In fact, there's a couple of roadworks taking place this morning along several roads, like in Kempton Park along the R24 East between Barber Road and Pomona Road, causing delays there. The N3 South between the Glulis interchange and Van Buren Road, roadworks there, as well as on the M1 South, causing delays between Empire Road and the Crown interchange. So please be patient on the roads this morning and allow for extra travelling time. If you are travelling in the city of Tshwane, please find alternative routes due to that protest that's taking place towards the Union Building. So several routes will be heavily backed up and traffic will be disrupted as a result. So please plan your trips way ahead of time. And that's your last traffic update from me, Amo. Ramila Karabujali will have your next report from the top of the hour onwards. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock. Time for the Sharing Space. I miss hearing your stories. Was I here last week? I wasn't. That's why I've missed the Sharing Space. This is where we share our stories, things that have happened at home, in the office, while you were on holiday, while you were taking a walk, running, whatever it is. This is where we come and share our stories. And some of you often ask for advice. Others just want to share your stories and you want to know if the other listeners have had the same experience. So I always appreciate you sharing your stories with us. How do you do that? Very easy. You send an email on cm@702.co.za. That's cm@702.co.za. Today, we've got an email from Anonymous. I'm going to read it. When I'm done, I want you to, if they're asking for advice, please be kind to give advice if you can. If they're just sharing a story and they wanna, and maybe you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I've gone through the same thing, share with us how you've dealt with that particular experience. So here we go. Hi, Clement and your listeners. My daughter has a matric dance this coming weekend, and it's been a really stressful time preparing for it. As her mother, I have been trying my best to make her day as special as she wants it to be. Over the past few weeks and months, I've noticed a trend of really extravagant matric dances at other schools. Parents are having parties before the matric dance. The dresses are luxurious brands. The cars are exclusive and expensive. This is a big concern for me because even though she knows we're not rich, my daughter has now made some unreasonable requests for her matric dance. I think she still feels a lot of peer pressure. For example, we had already bought her a dress. She now wants a new, more expensive one. She also wants a different hairstyle and a different car to the one we had agreed upon. I can tell that she doesn't really want these things, but she just wants to be like the rich kids at school. I obviously do not have the money for this, and she will take what I can give, but I'm interested to hear from other parents out there about how they deal with this matric dance pressure. And to the parents who go above and beyond for the matric dance, what informs this and how do you justify it for yourself? Anonymous, thank you so much for your WhatsApp voice note. So what I'm picking up from Anonymous is that the daughter is putting her as the mom under pressure because the daughter is being put under pressure by her peers. And what Anonymous wants to know from you is how you normally deal with this kind of pressure from your daughter. In fact, I asked Bongani this morning, my colleague Bongani, and he said it's better to teach the kids at an earlier stage. They must know what the parents can afford and what they can't afford. Don't do it. Don't wait until it's too late. And I do think, Anonymous, that if If this is what you can do for your daughter, that's it. And your daughter needs to understand what the limitations are, what you as her mom is able to do for her and what you are not able to do for her. And I don't think you should put yourself under pressure to respond to the pressures that she's being put under at school. And look, I understand children are probably putting pressure on each other like crazy at school, hey? They talk about their dresses and who's designing a dress, or they are getting a dress from this place. This is a car they're going to come in. And the kids probably start feeling like, I'm not going to arrive the way that other kids are going to arrive. Like this puts so much pressure, not only on these students, but on the parents as well. So are you a parent? Maybe you're a single parent. Maybe you're not. How have you dealt with the pressure that comes with this matric dance season? And Anonymous is asking that for those parents who go above and beyond for the matric dance, what informs this and how do you justify it? I also don't think we must try and manage how other parents who are able to afford go about, doing and celebrating the matric dance. Because some, as Anonymous says, they'll have parties before. They'll have parties after the matric dance. Some will bring in a limousine. Some will bring in the most expensive car to drop off their kid. But I think that what's more important is the conversation that you are having with your child. We can't be ashamed as parents to tell our children what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. And they have to learn that. And I know when you're young as a child, it's very difficult to understand that. I know when I shared a story just yesterday of how my mom used to give me money for grocery when I was at university sharing a room in Sunnyside with three people in one room. And we used to, in a flat, a 2-bedroom flat, but one room we were sharing between 3 guys. And we used to contribute money for grocery. And my mom used to send money later than the other guys because she needed to go take a loan and borrow money. It was messy. And I remember I used to be so irritated by that. And I felt so bad as I was growing older and I'm getting more mature. And I'm thinking, what a brat I was for being angry at the fact that my 2 roommates have received their grocery money and I haven't received mine, even when I understood the limitations that my mom had. And that's what is a lesson for me and what I would like to teach my children. And I think as parents, we constantly we need to have that honest conversation with our children about what we're able to afford, what we can't, what the limitations are, what they're not. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702, 19 minutes before 12.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
How much support do you think you have in Israel? If there were to be some kind of referendum, it could take the form of the election. What do you think the majority of Israelis would say is a way forward? Would a substantial number be behind the vision that you're sharing with us?
For me, it doesn't really matter where the Israeli people are now at the moment, marking the second anniversary of October 7.
Yes.
What I care the most is where they can be in the future. And I know the Israeli people and public opinion in general is a very, very...
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Ready to lead the future of business? Well, at Wits Business School, leaders don't just adapt, they define what comes next. Choose from a wide range of postgraduate programs designed to develop your leadership and strategic thinking skills. Whether you're looking to deepen your expertise or broaden your horizons, there's a qualification for you. At Wits Business School, ambition becomes leadership. Visit wbs.ac.za to find the program that's right for you. That's wbs.ac.za.
Hey besties, welcome to my kitchen tour, or should I say my new walk-in wardrobe. Over here we have the pantry, now home to my jeans and shirts, all color-coded. Oh, and the air fryer, literally the perfect place for my makeup brushes. And who would have thought, the oven is the place to store my handbags.
Who needs a kitchen? Simply spend 200 Rand or more and you could win Simply Asia for a year. T's and C's apply. Simply Asia, connecting the Thai way.
Breathe in, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. In, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. Again. insurance. Out. Pineapple. Again and again.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Weekdays on the highway, weekends on the trail, in rain, on tar, or halfway up a gravel pass. With the new Bridgestone Jeweler All-Terrain AT002, you don't have to choose. Bridgestone, prepared to perform whatever the terrain.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
It's going up to 15 minutes before 12 o'clock. Straight to your calls and your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clement. Very interesting topic that you're talking about right now. The peer pressure, unnecessary. I'm telling you, for me, I must make a disclaimer. But I told my lighty man, Naliana, we made a deal. I said, hey, Chief, listen, fortunately in his school, so the grade 11s are participating, when there's a metric dance, they go and assist. So he came back and I said, what did you see? He said, I saw all this fancy car. I said, my man, we make a deal. I'll give you 50K cash if, choose. Either you do this or you get 50K cash. Straight, we had a deal. Says, Daddy, I'm not going there. Yeah, next year, make sure you have my 50K. So I know where I'm working to. I feel like we're putting ourselves in a lot of strain as parents, unnecessary. The economy is tough right now for a one-day celebration.
But he says, and then the person fails after you've spent so much money and invested in that metric dance.
Mr. Manyathela, this thing of metric dance is becoming nonsensical now. Teachers, they are not being honest. They are the second parents. They are not getting paid for being there just to teach a curriculum. They must teach these students a broader picture of life. These things of peer pressure, they must be guided by the teachers so that it does not happen in the school environment. And then the parents will follow. How come teachers allow such things?
Clemens, how incredibly stupid these matric dances are. They should abolish them, even the standard 5 dances or grade 8 or whatever they call it. Parents are under such pressure to put food on the table, provide a roof above those children's heads, and provide transport to school and pay the school fees. We really have got our priorities wrong in this country. It's like people over weekends drinking, being drunk, but then in the week not being able to afford the money to get to work.
Stephen, you're calling from Alberton. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Clement?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, man. The other way of looking at this thing is, right? I was telling the producer that we grew up very poor. My background, right? I only learned very late in life that we were poor. How our parents did it was to accustom us to the way of life that we could afford, without sitting us down and telling us their financial woes. Because you don't want to burden kids and take them way beyond the stage of being a kid before they get there. Because how you do this, you accustom them to the way of life and the affordability. I'll tell you, I've got friends of people with kids that cannot afford certain things, but the kids would voluntarily say, Dad, I'm not going to the metric dance.
Yeah.
I think it's an over embellished thing, and it's a nonsensical thing, because they can understand that their parents cannot afford, and they in turn do not want to burden their parents. The flip side of that coin is that parents who cannot afford very early in life, they are accustoming their children or getting their children used to them getting out of their way to give them things that they as a family together they cannot afford.
So
and then there will be an expectation by kids that my parents will always get out of their way.
Yes, because they've done it before. So surely they can push boundaries and make this possible too. Yeah, Stephen, thank you for your call, man. Semi, you are in Pretoria. What are your thoughts?
Hello?
Sure.
So, Clement, unfortunately, in this case, at this point, there's nothing that the parents can do.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that she can do because it seems that over time, she's always had a child to be accustomed to the idea that whatever I want, my mother will buy it. And right now, it's coming back to bite her, Clement. So if she never taught the child that I've got financial limitations, then the child has always had the idea that no, she'll buy it. She's got money, whatever I want, she'll buy it. And that's why she keeps making unreasonable demands. When we were growing up, Clement, there was this shoe called Cavella. At the time, it was cheaper. All the teenagers, we wanted it. At the time, it was 625 rands. My parents never bought it for me because I accepted that, you know what, they have bills to pay, they've got to take me to school, they've got a house to pay and so on. So I'm not going to be like other kids. They'll just buy the Reebok sneakers, right? So if you never told your child that you don't have money, the child will think that you are rich. And then, Clement, we can talk whatever we want. There's nothing that she can do. She's stuck. She has to figure out a way to please her child.
Yeah, Semi.
If you keep feeding at the crocodile, Clement, it's going to end up eating you.
Yeah, no, Semi in Pretoria, thank you. Did you say Cavella was 600 at some point?
Yes, when I was teenager in the 1990s, like 1988.
Oh, okay. We were being born then because I remember it being 1,000. So,
yeah.
Okay. I do remember. And that was also the thing. I mean, young boys used to pressure parents to buy me a Cavella because it was a thing in society to be walking around with a shoe that cost, well, at the time, 1,000 rand was quite a bit of money. Let's go to more of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clement. Hope you're good. Keith here from Springs. I'm part of CPF in our community, and last week they had their matric prom, and kids were coming in Mustangs and McLarens, but it's actually a government school. School fees are really low, and some kids were very extravagant, and some kids came in normal cars, Havals and Chinese cars and other standard cars. So peer pressure is massive in schools, and kids are obviously competing with each other. We obviously just need to teach our kids that, listen, this is all we can afford and all we have, and life goes on.
Morning, Clement. My advice to the anonymous is do for your daughter what is in your capacity. Don't do more than that. Don't put yourself in unnecessary debt. I have a situation at home where my sister borrowed money from my wife for her son's graduation or matric dance, and it just so happened that my sister was not able to pay her back, and it was a huge amount of money, and this was a couple of years ago, and up until today my wife and my sister don't talk, but that totally broke down the relationship. So I ended up paying my wife back the money my sister borrowed. So do whatever is in your capacity and not more than that. Don't put yourself in debt, and your daughter has to understand. If you raise her properly, she will understand.
Yeah, and you know what's so tricky about this matric dance phenomena is it takes place, just before the kids finish school and they go to university. You know how expensive it is, that first year of university? Yeah? You need to buy a microwave, you need to buy a fridge, you need to find a flat, you need to pay a registration fee. There is a lot of money that goes into that, and I am shocked to find out how much people are spending, even on just hiring a car. Sam on Twitter says, Clement, the money that parents spend on matric dance is insane. I was paid 10,000 Rand for my Range Rover. It was literally a 2-hour job and I was done. I couldn't believe it. 10,000 Rand for a Range Rover to hire it out for just 2 hours? Oh, that money would buy a fridge, a nice small bar fridge, a 2-plate stove for someone moving into a flat. Yeah. But also it's unfair as well to say to the kids, and of course, let me say this first. If you can afford it as a parent, it's also okay to have a conversation with your child. Be frank and say, we just simply cannot afford it. But I do think that parents at some point want to do the best for their children. So even if you may not be able to give them the luxurious vehicle and the dresses, the brand that they want, but making sure that they are also part of the celebration is also important for your children. But then balancing that and the little you have with the pressure that comes from the kid who now wants these crazy things because they think you can push boundaries, that's something else. More of your WhatsApps.
Morning, Clement and the team. You know, the pressure of what's happening right now with the kids is so, sometimes you try to explain to your child what you have and what you don't have, which I do most of the time because my son is 16 and in high school, and I get the feeling that he sometimes compare himself with the other kids. And I tell them, I will give you what you want or what you need, and we need to plan. You can't just get everything at that time. So if you tell me now, Mom, I need this, then the end of the month, when I get paid, then I will do what we need with what we have. So this pressure is a lot, and sure, it's hard. Even if you explain, you can't fight it. It's rough nowadays. It's rough.
Afternoon, Clement and your crew there. It's Veronica from Straight View. I think, especially Black people, we must teach our kids not to live their neighbor's life or the colleague's life. They must live your life in your house. Because this thing of, hey, my neighbor is driving a BMW, I want it, doesn't work. I taught my kids all that when they were young. They are old now, they've got their own things, and they still know that they can't live their neighbor's life. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, good morning, Clement and team. I just got in my car, listening to the topic, waste of time and money. Just as isiko lokwaluka, I know I'll get under fire for that, but parents are paying or spending hundreds of thousands of rands on a weekend event, and then the child stays home unemployed. That money could have been invested in a small startup for the child, or even a car. Some of them have this big Mgidi celebration of coming back from the mountain. You don't even have a license. You can't even drive. I think we need to think deeper about these things. Yes, I'm not saying they are not important. I'm not discouraging them, but I'm just saying some things we need. We need to think deep. Are they worth it? Like the guy that said he'll give his lighty 50K, but to do what with it? To do what with the 50K? Have they discussed that? What is the 50K going? Is it going to be a deposit for a car? What is it going to be? Just to chill and blow it up with friends?
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee into the allegations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi kicked off. It is a platform of politicians. What I can guarantee you is that we are about to watch a spectacle. So what are they going to do? They're going to take this moment to subtly campaign for their own political parties. It's the very same parliament that ignored the same information that Mkhwanazi gave them a few months ago. Now that the cameras are going to be on them.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Before a masterpiece takes shape, there's a single line that starts it all, until every curve and every angle reflects the clarity of a single vision. And only then does inspiration take its final form. The all-new Audi A5, designed to inspire. Starting from $14,499 per month with a guaranteed future value. Visit audi.co.za or your nearest dealer for more. T's and C's apply.
Zahira was tired. So tired, she let her eyes rest a bit. It was bad. So bad. She replaced 4 hours of spreadsheets with... It was bad. So bad. Too bad she didn't have Yoko Counter. It automatically recon sales, tracks stock, and staff performance. So good. Yoko Counter. Super simple POS and payments in one. No contracts, no hidden costs.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without MyWay's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. MyWay. Live your way.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
How are you doing, Mandy Wiener?
Very good, thank
We
you.
meet again.
Yes, we do.
What's popping today on the Midday Report?
So on the Midday Report today, General Mkhwanazi has been dropping bombs at the parliamentary ad hoc inquiry. He's been speaking about all manner of things. At the moment, he's speaking about Shadrach Sibiya and his appointment. The police minister's also in parliament to discuss gangsterism in the Western
Which
Cape.
police minister?
The acting,
the acting one. I
lol.
know we've got like a few. Well, 2. Is it
The
2 now or
acting
3?
police. No, we've got an acting minister and a
And
minister.
the other
that
minister,
is-
yeah.
yes.
Ugh.
Very confusing. The Palapala trial's been delayed because of no translator. We'll look at the state of the provincial government of unity in KZN, and then we'll speak to Siviwe Gwahobe, the education minister, on the issue around stipend payments for assistant teachers.
All right, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Thank you for listening to the show. We'll be back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. KZN top cop Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says the access that alleged underworld crime boss Brown Mokhotsi has to police information is infiltration at its highest. Mkhwanazi says this violates the protection of all committee investigating allegations of police corruption. Mkhwanazi has alleged